Those moments, the trust Tinu had placed in Uncle Dele, the respect she had for him as a guardian and a mentor, shattered. Frozen in shock and disbelief, Tinu couldn't comprehend how the man who had been her savior turned into the source of her deepest pain. Once upon a time, in a small village wrapped in the arms of nature, there lived a family so full of love and happiness they seemed to carry sunshine wherever they went. Taddy was the head of the family, strong and kind, who worked his farm like he was painting a masterpiece with crops. His wife Zara, a beauty in her own right, was known across the village, not just for her looks, but for her gentle spirit and wise words. Together, they were blessed with a daughter, Tinu, a mirror to both her parents' best traits. Their house was always bubbling with giggles and stories, and Tinu grew up soaked in love. She was as bright as the morning sun, always eager to learn and quick to lend a hand. But life has a way of throwing surprises, and not all of them are pleasant. One night, after a long day of work, as Tade came back home, tired to his bones, disaster struck. A fire, fierce and unforgiving, swept through their home. It took everything in its path, leaving behind nothing but ashes. Tade and Zara couldn't make it, but somehow Tinu did. In their last moments, her parents protected her, ensuring she was saved from the flames. Suddenly, Tinu found herself alone. The world she knew turned to dust. The village came together, mourning and whispering soft prayers, trying to wrap Tinu in a blanket of comfort as best as they could. As the dust settled and the sun rose on a new day, Tinu's life took a new turn. She moved in with her Aunt Ashabi in a neighboring village, stepping into a new chapter filled with unknowns. This was the start of a different journey for Tinu, from a place filled with love to stepping into tomorrow with her heart heavy yet hopeful. Her story was just beginning, like a river cutting through new lands, ready to face whatever came with the strength her parents had given her. In a village not too far away, Tinu started her new life with Aunt Ashabi. Aunt Ashabi's house was different, but there was hope in the air that maybe, just maybe, things could be a little bit like before. Aunt Ashabi didn't have kids of her own, and she thought that having Tinu around might make the gods smile down on her and bless her with a child. So in the beginning, Ashabi treated Tinu like she was something precious. She made sure Tinu had nice clothes to wear and yummy food to eat. She even told Tinu to take it easy and not worry about house chores. She wanted to do everything by herself to make Tinu feel at home. But as the days turned to weeks, things started to change. It all began one afternoon when Ashabi's friends came over for a visit. They couldn't stop talking about how beautiful Tinu was growing up to be, and they whispered things to Ashabi that planted seeds of worry in her heart. They said, "If you keep spoiling that girl, she might end up taking your husband away from you one day." Those words stuck in Ashabi's mind like thorns, and slowly she began to see Tinu in a different light. Jealousy and fear took root in Ashabi's heart, making her act coldly towards Tinu. She started to give Tinu the hardest chores around the house, tasks that were too tough for a girl her age. And then, one really hot afternoon, Ashabi did something that shocked everyone. She sent Tinu to fetch water from the stream at a time when it was forbidden. In their village, there was a rule that girls shouldn't go to the stream in the afternoon because of old tales that said the river spirit could be wandering around looking for company. Tinu knew this well, and she begged Ashabi, tears in her eyes, reminding her of the dangers and the scorching sun. But Ashabi wouldn't listen. She was firm. even threatening to punish Tinu if she didn't go. So, with a heavy heart and a pot in her hands, Tinu set off to the stream, crying all the way there. But fate had a twist waiting for her. On her path, she met an old woman who seemed to have been waiting just for her. The old woman saw Tinu's tears and asked her to share her troubles. Tinu poured out her heart, telling the old woman about her aunt and the forbidden trip to the stream. Moved by Tinu's story, the old woman decided to help. She gave Tinu the water she had fetched for herself, sparing Tinu from having to break the village rule and face the river spirit. From that day on, whenever Aunt Ashabi wasn't around, Tinu would sneak off to see the old woman. The old woman's hut became a place of escape for Tinu. There, she found kindness and stories that made her forget her sorrows, even if just for a little while. The old woman treated Tinu like the granddaughter she never had, and in the warmth of her company, Tinu found a glimmer of the happiness she thought she had lost forever. After that first meeting by the path, Tinu and the old woman formed a bond that was as unexpected as it was strong. This old woman, with wrinkles that told tales of many years and eyes that sparkled with kindness, became a beacon of hope for Tinu in her world of shadows. Every chance she got, Tinu would slip away to visit the old woman who lived in a small, cozy hut that seemed to be hugged by the trees around it. The old woman had a name that danced on the breeze, but to Tinu, she was simply Grandma. Grandma's hut was a magical place for Tinu, filled with the scent of herbs and the warmth of a crackling fire. There, Grandma would share stories of the old days, tales of heroes and heroines, of creatures that spoke and mountains that moved. Tinu listened, wide-eyed, as each story unfolded, a tapestry of words that painted pictures more vivid than any she had seen. But Grandma did more than just tell stories. She taught Tinu too. She showed her how to identify the herbs that grew wild in the forest, which ones could heal a wound and which could soothe a fever. Under Grandma's gentle guidance, Tinu learned the secrets of the earth, the language of plants and animals. It was a world away from the harshness of Aunt Ashabi's home, a sanctuary where Tinu's spirit could soar free. However, the peace Tinu found with the old woman couldn't last forever. Back at Aunt Ashabi's house, the storm clouds were gathering. Ashabi's heart had turned cold towards Tinu, her eyes clouded with suspicion and jealousy. It didn't help that Ashabi's husband, unknowingly, added fuel to the fire by simply being kind to Tinu. He treated Tinu with the gentleness of an uncle, but through Ashabi's eyes, twisted by her friends' whispers, even the most innocent kindness seemed like a conspiracy. Then came the day that broke the camel's back. Ashabi had gone out to spend the afternoon with her friends, leaving Tinu with a mountain of chores and a stern warning to have them all done before she returned. Tinu worked hard, sweeping, cooking, and washing, hoping to steal a few moments to visit Grandma. But before she could leave, Ashabi's husband came back home early. Seeing Tinu all by herself, he walked closer to her, sat with her, asking about her day and sharing stories to make her smile. Just then Ashabi returned, her friends in tow. What they saw was an innocent scene twisted into something sinister by their suspicions. Ashabi flew into a rage, her friends egging her on, accusing Tinu of trying to seduce her husband. Tinu and the uncle tried to explain, but Ashabi wouldn't hear of it. The accusation was like a wildfire, spreading chaos and destroying everything in its path. Without a chance to defend herself, Tinu was ordered to pack her things and leave. The village tried to intervene, but without proof and with Ashabi's mindset, their words fell on deaf ears. Tinu was heartbroken, cast out based on a lie. In her darkest hour, Uncle Dele, Ashabi's brother, and a wealthy businessman from a nearby town came to her rescue. Despite his sister's fierce protests, Dele saw through the accusations and decided to take Tinu to the town with him. Moving to the town was like stepping into another world for Tinu. It was bustling, loud, and filled with sights she'd never imagined. Uncle Dele welcomed Tinu into his home, a place as warm as it was grand. His wife and their 2 daughters embraced Tinu with open arms, treating her not as a distant relative, but as one of their own. For the first time since the fire, Tinu felt a sense of belonging. She was enrolled in school where her intelligence and kindness quickly won her friends and the admiration of her teachers. The town offered Tinu a fresh start, a chance to rebuild her life on new foundations. Uncle Dele's family became her new haven, a place where she was valued and loved. Amidst the bustling streets and the towering buildings, Tinu found a new home, a place where the shadows of her past began to fade, replaced by the light of hope and the promise of a brighter future. Right when Tinu thought she was safe and away from all her bad memories, trouble found her again. This time, it was Uncle Dele, the very person who had taken her in and promised to keep her safe, betrayed her in the most unimaginable way. It started on a day like any other, with Dele's wife and daughters out on a visit, leaving Tinu alone in the care of her uncle. Dele approached Tinu under the guise of checking on her, but his intentions were far from good. At first, he sat down beside her on the bed, but then he started touching her on her chest and eventually forcing her and slept with her. Those moments, the trust Tinu had placed in Uncle Dele, the respect she had for him as a guardian and a mentor, shattered. Frozen in shock and disbelief, Tinu couldn't comprehend how the man who had been her savior turned into the source of her deepest pain. Feeling scared and confused, Tinu didn't tell anyone what happened. She thought it would just make things worse and possibly break up the family that had been so nice to her. So she kept quiet, carrying her pain alone, which got heavier with each passing day. Uncle Dele kept hurting her, making her feel trapped and helpless. Dele's actions continued. Any time when his wife and children were not around, he would walk to Tinu's room and sleep with her. He continued doing this over and over and over again, without any remorse, yet threatening Tinu not to speak up, or else she'll be sent back to Ashabi in the village. The house that once felt like a safe haven became a prison. The smiles of Dele's wife and daughters, once a source of comfort, now felt like a mask over the grim reality of her existence. Tinu was caught in a storm of emotions, her heart aching for a way out, but her mind clouded with fear of the unknown. Then came the day when Tinu's spirit, though battered, could not take the abuse anymore. She realized that staying would mean losing herself completely, that the cost of silence was too great. With a courage born of desperation, Tinu made the decision to escape. Then one afternoon, when the house was empty, and the town's bustling streets offering the opportunity to slip away unnoticed, Tinu left with just the clothes she was wearing and a strong will to get away from all the darkness that had come back into her life. She had no plan, no destination, only a burning need to flee the shadows that had once again found her. The town, with its towering buildings and endless crowds, offered countless paths, but Tinu's steps were guided by a simple desire for safety, for a place where the night's embrace held no terrors. Walking away from Uncle Dele's house, Tinu felt a little lighter with every step. She didn't know what was going to happen next, but she was ready to find out and make a new start for herself. Her escape showed how brave and strong she really was, proving that even when things are really bad, you can still find a way to brighter days. Tinu's story wasn't over yet. It was just beginning a new chapter. She was now on a path to healing and finding happiness again, away from all the hurt and betrayal. Years went by quickly, and it seemed like everyone forgot about Tinu, a girl who used to be so happy with her family before she faced a lot of tough times. But luck and life have a way of changing, and her story was yet far from over. In those years, Tinu's absence became a silent echo in the lives of Ashabi and Dele, a reminder of actions and choices that led to unforeseen consequences. Ashabi, once vibrant and full of life, found herself caught in a spiral of misfortune. The jealousy that had clouded her judgment and led to Tinu's departure had also seeped into her marriage, corroding it slowly until nothing was left but bitterness and regret as she got divorced by her husband. Her friends, whose whispers had fanned the flames of her jealousy, drifted away, leaving her isolated in her misery. And then came the loss of her wealth, as if the gods themselves were displeased. The favor she had hoped to win by taking in Tinu seemed to curse her instead, her life a shadow of its former self. Dele's downfall was no less dramatic. The man who once stood tall, a pillar of success and a beacon of hope for Tinu, found his world crumbling. His business ventures, once thriving, began to falter one after the other, as if misfortune had marked him. The wealth he had accumulated dissipated like morning fog under the harsh sun of bad investments and unforeseen economic downturns. His good name was ruined too. People started talking behind his back about the bad things he did. This made others not want to be around him anymore, even the friends who used to like him a lot. After all these, Dale went back to the village, as there's no more hope of success for him in the town anymore. His wife left him because he could no longer cater for the family, and his friends sidelined him because he couldn't fit in anymore. In the village, where life can twist and turn in surprising ways, Ashabi and Dele, who both treated Tinu badly in the past, found themselves walking together to the river one day. This place reminded them a lot about Tinu, who used to bring joy and then became a reason for sadness in their lives. By the river, they ran into the old woman who had been there for Tinu during her good and bad times. Feeling guilty and hoping to find some peace, Ashabi and Dele spilled out all their worries to her, worries that were all because of what they did to Tinu. The old woman listened quietly, her face not giving away what she thought of their tale. When she asked about Tinu, it hit Ashabi and Dele hard, making them think about the wrong they did and the guilt they've been carrying. They stood there in front of someone who knew the whole story, hoping for some answers, or maybe a way to fix things right there by the river. Instead of words of comfort or condemnation, the old woman handed them a small sack, its contents unknown. "Take this," she said, her voice a whisper of leaves. "Give it to Tinu should you ever see her again." Bewildered but too proud to question, Ashabi and Dele took the sack, curiosity burning in their hearts. When Ashabi and Dele got home, they couldn't wait and opened the sack, hoping to find gold jewels or some kind of magic herb inside. But all they found were ashes, just grey and dull, nothing like what they hoped for. They got really mad, and Ashabi, really angry, called the old woman a liar, not wanting to see the deeper meaning in her gift. But the ashes meant something important. They were like a message about how Ashabi and Dele's bad choices had ruined their own lives, just like how the ashes had once been something more. They didn't understand this lesson, though. It was like looking in a mirror and not wanting to see the truth. Looking at the ashes, they finally started to see how bad things had gotten because of what they did. Their lives had turned into a mess because they had been mean and jealous, and now all they had left were the results of those choices. The ashes weren't a curse from the old woman. They were her way of trying to make them see the damage they had caused to themselves and to Tinu. This moment, seeing the ashes and realizing what they meant, made Ashabi and Dili think hard about everything they had done. It wasn't a moment where everything was fixed, but it was a time when they really started to understand the cost of their actions. Even though time had moved on, the mistakes they made still hung around them, a constant reminder of Tinu, the girl who used to bring light into their lives, now gone, maybe for good. As time went by and seasons changed, the village, which used to talk about Tinu with sadness, was about to see something really surprising. One busy market day, something unusual happened in the village. Among the usual crowd, there was a new face, a woman who stood out. She was dressed in fine clothes and looked richer than anyone else there, even more beautiful than the prettiest girl in the village. But she wasn't there to buy or sell anything. Instead, she walked around the village giving away gifts and money to everyone. The villagers were thrilled, each person waiting eagerly for their turn to receive something from this generous woman. But when it came to Ashabi and Dele's turn, instead of getting gifts or money like everyone else, the woman handed them a note. She told them to read it once they were back home. After making sure every villager got something, she left. That evening, all the villagers couldn't stop talking about the kind and wealthy woman. Meanwhile, Ashabi and Dele were curious and a bit nervous about what the note might say. When they finally opened it, they were stunned. The note simply said, "It's me, Tinu," and at the bottom, "Step out." Confused and surprised, Ashabi and Dele stepped outside their home and found a large crowd waiting. Among the crowd, they first spotted the old woman, and then, to their disbelief, Tinu herself. Seeing her alive and well was a shock. In front of everyone, Ashabi and Dele began to confess all the wrong things they had done to Tinu, telling everyone how they had treated her poorly. This moment was a big surprise for everyone in the village. Tinu had come back, not to seek revenge, but to face her past and those who had wronged her. It was a moment of truth for Ashabi and Dele, and a turning point for the whole village. Ashabi admitted that her friends had influenced her badly against Tinu, making her act cruelly. Dele also came clean about how he had wronged Tinu. The villagers couldn't believe what they were hearing and were upset, wanting to make things right for Tinu. But Tinu asked for everyone's attention to share her side of the story. After Tinu ran away from Dele's house, she met a kind and wealthy man who listened to her story and decided to help her out. With time, Tinu and the man's son fell in love and got married. And it turned out he was actually Dele's boss before all this happened. Everyone was amazed by her story. Then Tinu revealed another surprise. The old woman was actually her mother. She explained that on the night of the fire, her mother didn't die. A stranger had saved her. People thought she was gone because they couldn't find her body, leading to the misunderstanding. The ashes that Ashabi and Dele received were symbolic, as they had indirectly caused the fire in their greed for Tinu's father's wealth. In this moment, Tinu and her mother had a heartfelt reunion, while Ashabi and Dele felt ashamed of their past actions. However, Tinu didn't seek revenge. She asked her husband to give Dele a job again, and even gave Ashabi some money to start over. Then Tinu took her mother to the city, where they started a new, happy life together. And so Tinu's tale, woven with threads of pain, courage, and forgiveness, concluded not with an end but a beginning of a new chapter for her, her mother, and even for Ashabi and Dele in the rich tapestry of life's unending story. I hope you love the story. If so, please like the video, share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more stories like this one. Goodbye.